As someone who's been gaming for 25 years, it gets rarer that a game takes me by surprise to the point where I rush out and tell all my friends, you must buy this game. Of course, the natural continuation of that conversation is they ask things like, oh yeah cool, what's it about? To which my response is, I don't really know, nor can I say. What I do know is no matter what I say, it will be underselling it, and the more I say, the less you will enjoy it. Which is why this is the most difficult review I have written. I want to tell you everything about Inscryption, but I want to say nothing. It is a game you must play for yourself to truly understand, but whoa, don't switch off the video just yet. If you are watching this, then there are likely two reasons why. Either your knowledge of Inscryption is next to nothing and you are looking for an honest review before buying this game, as a month or so ago it released on PlayStation after being on PC for about a year, and I'm going to give you that opinion. If this video convinces just one person to give Inscryption a go, then I'll consider it all worth it. Or you are the other kind of person who has already played Inscryption and you are watching other people's reactions to see if they are as brainwashed as you are. Trust me, you are not the only one to have lost your tiny little mind. Therefore, I will attempt to appease all of you, giving you my thoughts on the game whilst not giving anything away, whilst telling those that truly know what I think about everything going on in this game and what it is really about. Am I being too cryptic here? Uno! Yes, strange change of genre there a bit, but relevant to my journey. I've been playing this with my girlfriend lately, and as much as I enjoy it, I fancied looking for a card game that I could win without becoming the villain of a relationship. It's not gonna be Gwent, because let's be honest, no one knows how it works, so that left me with either this game Inscryption or Solitaire. As I am not a child under the age of 10 or in my 60s discovering my first PC, this little indie game by Daniel Mullins Games seemed like the one for me. Daniel Mullins is responsible for a couple of well-received games, The Hex and Pony Island. I have not played either myself, but after doing a little research, it seems a common theme amongst these games is combining genres like you are at the top of a herb mixing glass, something that is the foundation of Inscryption. Speaking of foundations, get involved, help build and widen the reach of the broadcast, like the video, share it, chat to me in the comments below and subscribe to the channel to catch all my upcoming videos.
Okay, time to figure out what's on this thing.
Booting up the game for the first time presents its first mind-boggling moment in that I actually cannot start a new game. The button doesn't work. Continue? But I haven't played this before, and as we all know, jumping into someone else's saved game is sacrilege. I remember I did this once on my mate's GTA 3 save file on the PS2, completed a few missions for him, lived to regret that one. But with no other choice, I jumped straight in to be greeted by nothing but a pair of eyes widening to the shivering creak in the darkness. A cabin in the woods maybe, held against my will by some shady captor. This is chilling. The game wasted no time in throwing me in the deep end, setting the stage for the story and the impeccable atmosphere of the game. This remote, creepy cabin is essentially an escape room, filled with mysterious objects and puzzles for the player to interact with and solve. Not just the puzzle itself though, but the mystery of what the hell is going on. To make things even weirder, I am given a variety of playing cards, animal top trumps if you will, as I am a challenger of some sort playing against this unknown opponent. After a brief tutorial, I eventually lost the game to be grabbed by some of the creepiest digits imaginable and taken into a room of coffins and presumably slaughtered, but not before the mysterious captor captures a picture of me as I labelled this with my own name, my very own death card. But it's not over there, as I awake as somebody else, a new challenger, ready to try and take this guy down and, well, presumably escape. This is the first 10 minutes of the game and I already know what it feels like to be grabbed by a stranger in the dark, as I am genuinely on the edge of my seat, and it's amplified as there is no exposition, no big dramatic explosion of an opening, there is no identifiable hero here or backstory either. Remember, this is someone else's saved game and I regretted loading it up in the first place, but I'm way too invested now to stop, and I never did until the final hand was placed. So hear me out. Inscryption is the accumulation of multiple ideas and gameplay mechanics, all of which we have seen in many games before, but the way in which it all gels together creates a very unique package with layer upon layer like a good old onion. The basics: Inscryption is a 1v1 card battle game, With 2 decks on the table, the player uses an ever-changing variety of cards to battle the opponent. The first of the 2 decks are what at first seem like throwaway cards in the form of squirrels, whilst the second deck builds up over time as the player collects various different battle cards, represented by dozens of different animals, wolves, toads, lions and tigers and bears, and your own death cards which each preceding challenger has created before their demise. All of the cards have their strengths and weaknesses between being better for attack or defense, or something somewhere in between. Now each of your cards has health points and attack points. Health points represent the number of hits that card can take before it perishes. Hit points determine how strong that card is, with the number of points representing the amount of damage you deal to the opposing card. For example, use a card that has 5 attack points, and this will take 5 points off the opposing card's health points, weakening or killing it depending on the number of those health points left. The target itself that you want to try and destroy is the challenger's health points, represented by a tipping scale that is filled with human teeth to tip the scales in each player's favour. To damage the challenger, you must hit the board which is protected by the cards in play, either destroy the cards in front of you to then attack the board, or use a number of powered cards such as cards equipped with flight to attack over the defensive cards. Hit the challenger for the required amount of points and the round is over, you win. Or vice versa, you lose and it starts all over again with your character's death. Laying card after card is not as easy as waiting to shout snap though, as each card you lay has a requirement. Here at first it's in the form of blood or bone sacrifices. Blood sacrifice will require you to kill a card in play, and the better the card you want to use, the more severe the sacrifice. Example, a grizzly bear has 3 blood points, meaning you have to sacrifice 3 other cards in play to use it. Suddenly the game turns into this management sim, in the sense you have to manage the cards you are picking up and use in your own internal scale of risk versus reward. The more cards you remove from the board, the more open you are to attack as the board defense is lowered, but this will give you better hits from better cards, which could give you the winning strike, even if you have to take a few hits to get there yourself. The core principles of the game are fairly simple and easy to pick up, yet it is extremely rewarding, addictive and challenging due to the evolutionary nature of the rules and the gameplay styles that are implemented into the card battle concept. So whilst the entire game is at its core a card game, it consistently feels fresh and engaging to play. You will collect a huge number of cards, some of which are central to the plot as they appear to be people trapped within the cards themselves, previous challengers perhaps, whose goal is to assist you in escaping the clutches of our captor. The Stoat, Wolf, a Bug, mysterious characters that share a seemingly mutual goal, and they provide tips or completely mug you off if you play like a damn fool. And eventually you'll get to a point where you are not just collecting different cards, some common, some rare, but you're also creating your own, meaning your deck will soon go from a simple few cards to holding an unstoppable army in the tips of your fingers that offer some truly devastating blows to the opponents. There were times where I would totally wipe the floor with such satisfaction after hours of building a great deck, and this would go for boss battles as well. Items can be collected throughout also, including a pair of pliers to rip out a couple of teeth to tip the scales when you are in desperate need, or an emergency squirrel card if you are in need of a last minute sacrifice so you can play a superior card. However, if you die, the deck is reshuffled, meaning you have a brand new hand, and you have to start from the beginning of the D&D adventure in true roguelike fashion. But this is never frustrating due to each round offering new cards, dialogue, snippets of plot, and advancements in the world around you, always almost forgetting the fact we don't actually want to be trapped in this cabin. And it is easy to forget as the game is just so damn gripping. Inscryption is broken up into 3 acts, taking place on 3 different playing boards. Rolled out on the table between battles, Inscryption plays like a D&D campaign on acid, with no one but your weird uncle with suspiciously large hands as a dungeon master. Travelling across different locations on the table, from forests, mountains, castles and factories, we move from location to location on the map by stopping off at various points of interest, all relying on both your imagination and the props of the dungeon master, from masks, sculptures and homemade arches, like any well-prepared tabletop game. The dialogue on screen, the backing track, the creaks and monstrous noises, the lack of any real comfort of playing a board game creates this constant tension, fear at each stop. whether that be stumbling across a group of hungry cannibals by a fire who promise to warm a chosen creature card to increase its health. But will you risk the fact that you might not be able to take the card back before they eat it? A mysterious trapper you meet looking to buy pelts, or an old woman who carves sculptures that give bonus powers on your deck? Everyone and everything you meet is a fascinating character that you can never be sure to trust. Everything can easily turn against you with the smallest miscalculation. Thinking ahead like a good old game of chess can turn the tide in your favour as you scrape by. There are handfuls of systems available to help you get it as well. Through the journey you will encounter altars to sacrifice cards, but retaining their bonuses to implement into different cards. Bonuses come in many forms: attack all adjacent spaces, insta-kill, or attack and move to the left, just to name a few. Cards can even be spliced together to create some new monstrosity. And all of these different gameplay mechanics are just to name a few in the early hours of the game. What perhaps gave me the most pleasure in Inscryption was how it consistently managed to surprise me in all of its offerings. The gameplay mechanics, the cards themselves, the characters, bosses, level design, it threw so many surprises at me it was sometimes a little disorientating and overwhelming, but it all blended together as smooth as the brushing of paint on a canvas, ensuring my investment in this thing as it evolved as the game progressed. Listen, I almost very never made this video because my experience with the game is the experience I wish everyone to have. Going in completely blind. But I just had to get it out there, so everything I've spoken about is just the tip of the iceberg, and it pains me I can't express why, or more so, I don't want to express why. The twists and bends in the gameplay design, the tones from horror, comedy, the story, which I don't even want to mention more than I have here, becomes far grander and philosophical than it gives any indication of being before it's too late, and you have a bruised chin because your jaw is constantly slamming the floor. Now admittedly it wasn't perfect, there were a few moments where the game slips up due to the pacing slowing down a little bit, especially at the start of Act 2 thanks to the introduction of new gameplay mechanics and the overall concept, meaning I had to kind of relearn the game somewhat. But this is just a minor hiccup that I soon overcame because the brilliance of Inscryption was never lost in the risk that it takes. In fact, pretty much every risk that this game takes pays off in either a shocking or hilarious way, but both as thought-provoking. And with just that, I feel like I've said too much, which is something I wouldn't even bother caring about if a game had been out for a whole year. There are a whole number of videos out there going deeper into the game for your viewing pleasure, but for me it would be a disservice to spoil this remarkable game to the unaware, and it needs to be inscribed into your minds the right way. And I'm sure the developer would agree. They wouldn't want me to spoil this, and the last thing I would want is to say more than I should about Inscryption, to then find Mr. Mullins himself banging on my door with a loaded gun in my face for my silence.